Common NLP tasks with transformers. In this particular section, we'll look at text classification, which involves sentiment analysis and other classification tasks. We'll look at named entity recognition, which is NER. We'll look at question answering, also called as QA, text generation, translation, and summarization. So let's jump into it. So first, text classification. Text classification involves assigning a label or category to a given text. It's one of the most common NLP tasks are and can be most. It's one of the most common NLP tasks and can be used for sentiment analysis, spam detection, topic categorization, etc. Now let's look at sentiment analysis first. Sentiment analysis is a type of text classification that determines the emotional tone of piece of the text. So positive or negative, how the whatever the text is, what does it kind of imply? So let's start with an example. I'm going to go back here and let's start with the file, with the Python file, and we'll start with sentiment analysis using BERT. So first step that we do here is we'll probably go over importing libraries and load models. So we from transformers we import pipeline, and then we create a classifier variable where we can call the pipeline API and pass sentiment analysis in there. Next, we can classify the sentiment by creating a variable result, and inside that we call the classifier function, and I'll pass a text in there, which I love using Hugging Faces transformers library, and print the result over here. So I'll save this, go back and say Python 3 sentiment analysis using BERT, run this. Goes to that and it gives me a result of positive, and the 99 point is the confidence value for it. So that's pretty good. So that's how you can do sentiment analysis using BERT. Next, we're going to look at other classification tasks. Now you can perform other classification tasks similarly by loading appropriate models. So I am going to clear this part here, and let's create another file here, other classification task.py. In this, we're going to do the other classification task, where the first step is loading a different pre-trained model instead of what we used. So from transformers import pipeline and classify, we're going to load zero shot classification in this particular case. And let's second step is to classify text into topics. So we're gonna create a sequence to classify, which is Hugging Faces creating amazing tools for NLP, and the candidate labels can be technology, education, and entertainment. And then we will call the classifier method and pass the sequence to classify and the candidate labels. And let's see, where does it classify into technology, education, or entertainment. I'll go back here and I'm going to say Python 3 other classification, run it. Let's see. Since it's a new model that we're using, we've not used it before, it's going to download it. It's 1.63 GB, so let's give it a minute. So once it downloads everything that it needs, it looks like this particular sequence, Hugging Face, is creating amazing tools for NLP based on the labels technology, entertainment, education. It's scored highest in technology, where it's 97%. The second one, entertainment, is 0.1% or 1%, 1.4%, and the next one is 1.2% in education. So that's what it placed. So this is how you can use the zero shot classification to classify a particular sequence into one of the labels that you have. The next thing that, let me clear this out first. The next thing that we're going to look at is the name entity recognition. Name entity recognition identifies entities in text such as names, dates, and locations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file, named entity recognition.py. And in this, what we are going to do is we are going to first import libraries and load the model. So we will import pipeline and then load the pre-trained NER model, which is NER, and then recognize entities in the text. So I'm going to put some text here. Hugging Face is a company based in New York City, and I'm going to say give me the results by passing this text into the NER function or API. So once I do that, I save it, I will go back and I'm going to say Python 3 named entity recognition, run it. I think I've used this before, so it will be pretty quick, and it will say that it has found me word an organization which is Hugging Face Incorporated, and then it found me a location which is New York City. So this it what it does is it kind of puts, as I mentioned, names, organizations, dates, and and locations in particular array, and gives you back that. So this is what NER is used for. Next that we're going to look at is question answering. Now, question answering involves finding an answer to a question from a given context. So you have to provide the context and you have to ask the question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file, and I'll go through first importing libraries and load models. So from transformers import pipeline, then I'm going to load the pre-trained question answering model, and then let's answer a question based on the context where Hugging Face Incorporated is a company based in New York City. Its neighbors are in Dumbo, very close to Manhattan Bridge. Now I'm asking where is Hugging Face based, and then I call the QA the pre-trained model and pass question and context to it. Let's run this and let's see what it gives me back. I'll go clear and I'll say Python 3 question answering. Run it, and what is the answer? Where is Hugging Face based? Let's see. And according to this, it says with 95% accuracy, it can say that it's in New York City. That's perfect. That's how question answering works. Next thing that we're going to look at is text generation. So let's create a new file. Now, text generation involves generating text given an initial prompt. So you provide some prompt, and the AI, based on the preloaded model, will provide you some text of whatever it can do. So I'm gonna import and load the models from pipeline from transformers. Then load the pre-trained text generation model GP2 and generate the text. I'll call the generator function, and I'll say once upon a time, and I'll give max length of 50 and number of return sequences equal to 1. I want one sequence, and I'll print it out. So let's go ahead and say Python 3, so text generation, run it. I've used this before, so it should be pretty quick, and it will say once upon a time in the year 1900 to 2001, a period of significance. It will give me some text based on my request, and I can keep on asking, running this again and again, and it will give me different output every single time. Now clear that. That covers us text generation. Next we have translation. So with translation involves converting like text from one language to another, which is used quite a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and import the libraries to load the model. I will load the pre-trained model of translation English to French, and I'm going to translate the text. Hugging Face is creating amazing tools for NLP, and let's see what it comes back with. I'm going to go back here and say Python 3, this is translation.py. So we used this before too. So it's going to take load the model, and once the model is loaded, it will translate, and it says Hugging Face credes all is. I have no idea how to speak French, so but I am sure this is how it works. And if you know French, let me know if this worked or not in the comments. So once this is done, next thing that we are going to look at is summarization. Text summarization involves creating a concise summary of a longer piece of text. So let's go and look at this. Import the libraries. We can load the pre-trained model of summarization, and the summarization text that I want to summarize is this one about Hugging Face as a company, and the result, I want a text which is max length 50 and minimum length 25. I can increase this as much as I want or reduce it as much as I want, and accordingly set my parameters. And here go back and say Python 3 summarization.py is going to run this code and give me summary of that particular uh, text that I have provided. And there you go. Hugging Face created a popular open source library and gives me the summarization of that text. You can provide much longer just to play with it and see how it works. Now this is a fourth section on common NLP tasks with Hugging Face's Transformers library. It covered text classification, named entity recognition, question answering, text generation, translation, summarizer, providing examples for each task using the pre-trained models. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.